Dungeon Basics. The newcomer evil should learn the... The still learning the ropes evil had decided to try the excellent tutorials. Good choice. In this childishly simple introductory mission, it would learn the basics of dungeon management. Things like digging, building rooms, and hiring and firing creatures. Everything a novice evil needs to know. First of all, it admired the center of its power, the dungeon heart. This, if possible, should never be broken, as that would lead to an inglorious and permanent end to the definitely wanting to avoid this at all costs evil. Naturally, the most important resource for any evil genius was gold. One could make the best things out of the glittering metal, and nary a creature was going to let the absolute evil hire it and push it around without a coin or two. Sad, I know, but that's the way the cold, hard, capitalist world of evil works. Although a little gold could also be stored in the dungeon heart, the little snots, the strange name giving evil's workers, had to travel long distances to do so. It made much more sense to build a treasury nearby. The fast-learning evil immediately began doing so. Sometimes the bored evil's little snots didn't work quickly enough. That was the time to give them a hearty slap with the hand of terror. Naturally, this had to be done immediately. Calculating evil threw a cagey glance at its population limits. These were divided into little snots and creatures. As opposed to creatures, little snots did not have to be hired separately, but were always regenerated up to the maximum limit. And so it was that the massacring evil didn't have to worry if one of these miserable creatures died. It simply had to wait for the next one. At the same time, the little snots were the dungeon workers who dug the galleries. Unfortunately, creatures were a little more demanding than the miserable little snots. A hideout would have to be researched before creatures such as goblins and orcs could be hired. As loyal as the little snots were, they were unable to fight and took to their heels in panicked flight at the first sight of an enemy. Sighing, the unscrupulous evil set about providing a hideout. The army craving evil had hired a creature which would from now on do its dirty work. However, each creature consumed a population point. Fortunately, these could be increased just like the number of workers. Should it become necessary to recover a population point, the maliciously grinning evil could always use the egress located at its dungeon heart. Simply toss the creature onto it, a little pull of the lever, and oh, whoops. Well, there it goes. These creatures were pretty spoiled. Not only did horde creatures demand their own bunks, they also wanted something to eat. Otherwise, they would soon refuse to do any work whatsoever and go on strike. The deeply sighing evil had no other choice than to build his creatures a gobbler farm to satisfy their hunger. Excellent work. The gobbler farm was now ready. Later, the creatures would also demand other things, but for now, they were satisfied. The fast-learning evil had mastered the first tutorial with flying colors. Excellent work. fast-learning evil had begun the second tutorial. It now more or less knew what it had to do to build a dungeon. Now it would turn to the overworld, where it would sow chaos and destruction. Up there waited a Isle of Good, which just begged to be destroyed. The impatient evil got right down to destroying. Before the overworld could be destroyed, a number of creatures would first have to be brought there. The Hand of Terror greedily reached out to grab some. First, creatures ventured out into the overworld. The destruction-craving evil could hardly wait to transform all those unbearably rich colors into 50 shades of gray. The drooling evil did not have the omnipotence in the overworld it was used to in the dungeon. Here, it had to direct its creatures the old-fashioned way, with orders. Ah, the Isle of Good had been destroyed. To the ground. This not only made for a more pleasant ambiance, but also produced some lovely evilness, which could be used for research. The researching evil quickly set about spending its evilness. The troop-hungry evil had increased its population limit and could from now on hire more creatures. A great decision. The fantastic evil had understood the basics of the overworld and the advantages of evilness in the blink of an eye. Not that those were difficult concepts, but hey, you take what you can get, so good work. Evil evilness. The fast-learning evil quickly set about sending its creatures The knowledge-thirsty evil obviously couldn't get enough of these crazy tutorials. All right then, let's improve our knowledge of the dungeon. The absolute evil's creatures gathered experience from battles over the course of time, and thus reached new levels. This was to be welcomed, as higher-level creatures were much more powerful. Unfortunately, the creatures also became harder to please as their levels increased, and had the impudence to demand new things. Unbelievable! Well, that borders on treason. Horde creatures, for example, would later demand beer that they themselves produced in the brewery. But the brewery was still a long way off, as the annoyed evil's little snots had once again proved their lack of intelligence and hadn't built any workplaces in the dungeon. Toolboxes would later be needed for the brewery. These were produced by little snots at workplaces in the workshop. Sighing, the once again disappointed by its workers' evil, set about building the workplace. The little snots willingly set to work producing toolboxes with a stupid grin on their faces. These were needed to build the workplace in the brewery. A cast iron brewing kettle made out of toolboxes? Computer game logic. The not particularly known for its patience evil patiently waited for enough toolboxes to be available. The splendid evil had finally produced enough toolboxes by waiting in boredom. It quickly set about building the brewing kettle. The brewing kettle stood proudly, and the diligent little snots went directly to work producing the delicious brew, so that the horde creatures could soon start knocking it back. All that was missing was someone playing some good old-fashioned folk music. Then again, maybe not. Always makes my ears bleed. But now for something completely different, as the hard-working evil now had access to the lecture hall. There, additions to normal research in the form of scrolls could be made for small amounts of gold, time, and evilness. The always slathering for something new evil quickly began to try them out. Yes, my grandmother always found that a good choice. Very interesting. I would have researched that too. It's payday. Splendid work! The good-humored evil had not only satisfied its alcoholic creatures, but at the same time learned more about research. It now considered itself well equipped to begin converting the lessons learned into evil, nasty deeds. The shadow of absolute evil. The shadow of absolute evil had crossed the sea and now sought the chosen target. A long, long time ago. The absolute evil had, in the famous predecessor to this game, subjugated the known world and defeated good. Now, in a world full of blackness and despair, it spent its days sipping cocktails from the skulls of its enemies and forging new plans over a grilled unicorn kebab. Unfortunately, there wasn't much left to forge. A few orc wedges, the occasional trick played on the little snots. There just wasn't anything left to conquer. As the weeks and months passed, the absolute evil grew ever more reticent and seclusive. From time to time, one could hear a slight murmur from the depressed evil's super-secret laboratory in the depths of the dungeon. Its creatures grew more worried with each passing day, and even started to miss its ingenious evil tricks. It was a somewhat confusing time for them. No beatings, no torture, and no being sent to a senseless death. On the other hand, it was a rather nice change. Eons passed, and the unicorn supply dwindled until suddenly, one wonderful day, the evil genius evil joyfully burst from its super-secret laboratory. It finally had a new goal. An unknown continent, as often found in sequels, lay to the east, sheltered from the wicked evil by naught but a puny little ocean. It immediately had a fleet built. This was so powerful that it covered the horizon from north to south and was manned by the best and most powerful creatures at the devious evil's command. The fleet set sail for the crossing to this new continent, left the harbor, and sank. Yet that mattered naught to the couldn't give a hoot about its minions' evil. It instructed its goblins and little snots to design an even more powerful fleet. These new ships were gigantic. Loaded with devious evil's second-best creatures, the fleet set out. And that sank as well. The annoyed evil saved his relentless anger towards the shipbuilders for later. Obviously, it would have to take care of the matter itself. With a sigh, it cast a spell and created a shadow of itself, a creature of absolute darkness and evilness. This shadow flew across the water towards the east. There, it would find a vessel, a corruptible being that would subjugate this land in the name of evil. And the shadow had the perfect target in mind. The great paladin Tanos, hero of the totally Eastern Kingdoms and a repugnantly good fellow. He was visiting the fatiguing library in Twistram with his comrades to see his foster daughter Talia.
Well now, Talia, tell me about your studies. Are you making progress with the writings of the ancient sages?
Yes, dear father, I have thoroughly digested it and have come a step closer to the good. The desire within me to do evil is defeated.
Really? Excellent! I am proud of you, my child. Continue to concentrate on your studies. I must go to Stormbreeze to clear up a few matters. I'll be back soon. In the meantime, my loyal friend Grimly will protect the country. Should anything trouble you, you can turn to him. Isn't that right, Grimly?
Aye, of course, Janos. I'll keep an eye on the damned elf. Your daughter. You can count on me.
Then I'll see you soon, my friends. May the goddess watch over you, and the light burn eternally.
Bon voyage, dear father. I'll make you so proud of me. Who does good is good.
Yuck. Disgusting phrases like that always leave such a nasty taste in my mouth. These abnormally good heroes, on the other hand, had no inkling of the malignity gathered to the south. One moment a herd of sheep was peacefully grazing, and the next moment, whomp! With a fulminant explosive effect that ate up half our special effects budget, the shadow entered the world. His target, a dark elf caught between good and evil, was very close. As the shadow of the unspeakably evil moved through the world, all around it died. Plants withered. Animals perished. Sort of like a picnic with my family. The shadow of the far-off evil found itself very, very close to Twistram. It could practically feel its target's presence.
Take these lanterns, men, and let the light of the goddess shine. For the night is dark and full of terrors, and there's a pile of horse poo around here somewhere. I trod in it earlier. For the darkness! I mean, for the light! Sorry, I'm still in training.
Yes, well, that is somewhat suboptimal. Naturally, the shadow of the almighty evil was an incredibly powerful creature. But, well, light was a bit of an issue. It would certainly be wise to stay out of the lantern light. the shadow reached the entrance to Twistram. Fortunately, this one was not closed, but it was brightly lit. Luckily, there was an unfortunate guard on patrol that the shadow was able to possess, thanks to its incredible powers. As long as it wasn't in the light.
What was that? I think there was something wrong with our last beer.
Unfortunately, the shadow's possession only lasted a short while before the guard was able to free himself. Still, it was long enough to get past the gate. The shadow's target was close, so close. Talia, the dark elf. Soon she would fight on the side of evil.
May the goddess be with you, my friends. It will soon be time to open the orphanage in the fatiguing library. Come to the big square and join in the festivities.
Well, I don't know.
I had actually kind of planned to spend the evening in the bathhouse.
Friends, this orphanage is very important to my father. Tanos, you know, the mighty paladin, the one you really don't want to offend.
Yeah, all right, we'd love to come.
Excellent! May the light of the goddess shine upon you, and let us experience this exhilarating spectacle in the big square together. Follow me, my friends, for evil, the light, I mean. Keep the light burning bright, for the night is dark and full of terrors or errors or something like that.
Stop holding the lantern in me face like that, boy. I am Grimly, king of the dwarves, and I am used to the cold, dark tunnels under the mountains. I have no need of any stupid lamp shining into me eyes. Now I'm stuck with that damn pointy... I mean, my good friend Tanos' foster daughter. Curse him. A dark elf is a dark elf, and nothing will change that. The girl will always be tainted. Should have cut her ears off when I had the chance. Enough chit-chat, men. You stay here and secure the area. I have to go check my invention. Stay alert. I can feel something evil lurking in the area. And it's not just that damn pointy-eared... I mean, that elf.
In the distance, one could hear the unbearably good bells of a church. They must be marking the opening of the orphanage in the fatiguing library. Heroes, with lanterns, began to stream in that direction. The crossing on a red signal evil shadow swore, or would have if it had a mouth, and tried to avoid the lanterns as much as possible. Finally, the time had come, and the shadow of the
My dear father would be very proud were he with us today. He would be overjoyed to see us give the young and the needy a place to live and thrive. That's why I'm happy to take this orphanage and destroy it utterly, and all of you with it.
What did she say?
Die! I feel the power within me. Oh, it's over 9,000!
unimagined powers surfaced in Talia, the black magic of the Dark Elves. She immediately began to unleash these powers of chaos upon the world.
I'll tear you to pieces!
The Dark Elf raged through Twistrom's inexperienced guards. She thereby built up a tremendous inner energy, which she released into the world as a focus beam, while screaming, Kamehameha! Meanwhile, in the fatiguing library, they waited eagerly with coffee and cake for Talia to show up and open the new orphanage. The energy beam hit the cake with a resounding zap and reduced it to ashes. Oh yes, and the rest of the building and everyone inside it as well. The narcissistic evil patted itself on the shoulder for this. Or it would have, but the metal armor always made such a terrible clonking noise when it tried. But then again, that's what little snots are for. Obviously, the Dispatch Shadow had found a perfect vessel in the Dark Elf. Talia had already earned the title of Employee of the Month, with the utter destruction of the fatiguing library, as well as half of Twistrom. The destruction of an orphanage and the bombardment of innocent citizens with magic missiles immediately made her the many-and-wasting evil's new favorite henchperson. Her evil deeds complete, Talia withdrew into the vaults beneath the ruins of the fatiguing library. There, between the slaughterhouse and Mad Archbishop Lazarus's apartments, she prepared to create something powerful in the name of the absolutely, ultimately evil. A dungeon heart, the cornerstone of any dungeon's power. Far away, Paladin of Light and Talia's former mentor, Tanos, was on his way to the Empire's capital of Stormbreeze. Naive and trusting as he was whistling cheerfully to himself, with no inkling of his foster daughter's dark deeds. Though he was aware that as a dark elf, she always had a core of evil in her. He had hoped to defeat it through religious indoctrination with ancient mad writings. Well, old bean, you thought wrong. Twistrom looked like the leftovers from a heavy metal concert.
What? What have I done? Oh no! I've fallen to evil again. Father will be beside himself. He was right when he said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Although, in a way, it was fun to be evil. Burning things, pillaging, and showing those nasty goody two-shoes where the hammer hangs. They just look down at me anyway. My revenge will be terrible!
While Tanya was delivering a typical villainous monologue, something happened around her. From the depths arose a pulsating crystal, filled with the magic-savvy evil's power. A dungeon heart. Not to be confused with those dungeon hearts from other games. We don't want to be sued. Again.
Hello, greetings. What seems to be your boggle?
Secret mental messages were exchanged between Talia and the mentally savvy evil's crystal. We could explain this in detail at this point, but that would require a 3-hour monologue on my part, and I am definitely not being paid enough for that.
Right then. I will make these people suffer for mocking me. Father's henchmen never liked me anyway, and always insulted me, calling me pointy-eared. It's time for my
The game logic internalizing evil had given Talia an assignment. Out there on the surface were shamelessly good places in urgent need of destruction.
Nah, no problem. I'll take care of it. I and an evil army.
Naturally, the strategically well-versed evil did not send its new general into battle alone. A dungeon had to be built, and creatures hired to provide her with a powerful army. Of course, the sophisticatedly thinking evil already knew which way the wind blew in a dungeon. However, should it be hit by short-term memory loss, it could effortlessly look up things in the fabulous almanac. The grandiose evil's helpers had not been idle. Well, they hadn't exhausted themselves either, but anyway, there were now some research projects the researching evil could pursue. The new improved research menu, TM, was now available. The exploring evil's little snots had discovered a room in the underground. The new improved research menu, TM, opened and gave an overview of currently available technologies. At the moment, the selection was still limited, but that would change. After all, this evil crusade had only just begun. It's payday. Spiders have spread throughout the underground. Payday.
For the absolute evil! What can I do for you?
Blinding beams of light met the dauntless evil's creatures. They briefly squinted at the disgusting brightness. Finally, they grinned, satisfied. At last, they were able to carry the battle to the good people and were not limited to protecting themselves in a dungeon, as is the case with other representatives of the genre.
Follow me, sons of Rohan. I mean, my vicious hordes. Let's get these tree huggers and wimps.
The armies of evil reached one of those disgustingly good places that had survived the destruction of Twistrom. The ice-cold hand, I mean evil, would deal with it immediately. It's payday.
For the absolute evil! I am the evil.
The little town of Good was destroyed and turned into a hotbed of evilness. Cracks formed on the surface, and something, guess, evil rose from the depths. This evilness, in a practical spherical form, was the sweet lifeblood which flowed through the personified evil's veins. It stimulated the armies of evil and swelled their power. All this lofty blah blah without any impact on the game aside, it was another resource primarily or exclusively used for more powerful research. Delicious evilness flowed into the dungeon heart and filled it with power. New research was thus made available, which would help the dungeon to even greater power. The impatient evil immediately began to research something.
What is going on here? I feel a disturbance in the force.
The deeds of the conspicuous evil and its henchmen had not gone unnoticed. As a matter of fact, even a blind man could see the destruction they left behind them. As idiotic heroes do, they sent out a small patrol to scout the area.
Move out, men. Have a look around and report back to me. While I would love to accompany you myself, I'm currently, teaching myself to play the ukulele.
Wasn't that the Staggering Pony Tavern? By the goddess, I won't be getting any more roast pork there.
Evil will.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
Hey, where does this lead? We should take a closer look.
The first heroes had discovered the not-so-well-hidden evil's dungeon and now entered its depths. Of course, the insidious evil had already prepared a despicable reception for them. At least I hope so.
Even if that's not the case, I will kill these ridiculous do-gooders myself. They will pay for mocking me over the years. Wait a minute. What am I saying? Those are my friends. How can I plan their deaths?
Talia had chosen an extremely unfavorable time for moral doubts. Luckily, her evil dark elf heritage prevailed. Hey, Talia, you're evil, so act like it.
What? Oh, yeah, okay. Kill them all!
The progress-addicted evil had unlocked some new research and immediately set about trying it out. Enemies have entered the dungeon. The exploring evil's little snots had discovered a room in the underground. It's payday.
veins. Give me my orders! You desire?
dragons have nested in the underground. It's payday.
Huh? The armies of evil here? Damn it all, how did that happen? Time to call out the heavy guns. Right, men, get ready to attack in waves.
Excuse me, sir. Wouldn't it make more sense if we attacked all at once?
Where's the fun in that? Wave after wave, that's a strategy for real men.
Thanks to the enemy's limited tactical finesse, their destruction was virtually unavoidable. So it was time to decorate for the victory celebration, to get the beer and hire the orc dancers. Okay, maybe not orcs. I shudder at the thought.
They're going to be child's play. Leave them to me. I mean, hold them back and let them hit you while I deal with them.
By the goddess of light! What happened here? The whole city is in ruins. I drank a beer right over there just yesterday.
Enemies have entered the dungeon. Hopefully no one has arachnophobia. A spider nest has been discovered.
For evil!
It's payday. Hopefully no one has arachnophobia. A spider nest has been discovered.
Tell me what to do!
There are enemies in your dungeon. Payday.
By the goddess of light! What happened here? The whole city is in ruins. I drank a beer right over there just yesterday.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
The studio burned down, and I was going to come here tonight for Pilates.
It's payday. There are enemies in your dungeon. Dragons have nested in the underground. Absolute Evil's little snots had dug out a new room.
He's not gonna get up.
studio burned down. And I was going to come here tonight for Pilates.
He's not gonna get up. Yeah?
It's payday.
Thanos' head.
The second island of the good was mercilessly overrun by the strategically savvy evil's hordes and turned into an evil island. Soon, more of that exquisite evilness would be bubbling to the surface. Excellent. Even better than in Dungeons 2. Not that I'm out to plug it or its fantastic add-on or anything. I'd never do that. Enemies have entered the dungeon. It's payday.
Who do you want dead?
No, the studio burned down, and I was going to come here tonight for Pilates.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
The last lair of good. Good is more or less destroyed. Ha! Good thing I switched sides.
In fact, the drooling evil had claimed all the evilness in these lands. Taking the rest of the camps would be a cakewalk, easy as stealing candy from a baby. Candy from a baby? Simple, I asked. Ever tried it? The screaming and crying and fetching their parents and family as reinforcements, and those little beasts bite pretty damn hard. Not that I have any personal experience, of course.
The ultimate, chaotic, absolute, whatever evil will be happy. I am. Father is gonna be so angry. Do you really know what you're doing? You wanted to be good. You had dedicated yourself to the light. Stop and really think about your deeds.
Can you please just stop with the golem thing? We already had too many Lord of the Rings gags in the last two games. Enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just shut it, good me.
Talia and the destructive evil's army had succeeded in destroying Twistram and the surrounding area. Good no longer existed in this land.
Oi! What the hell happened here?
Apparently not quite all of the good guys were defeated. The dwarven King Grimly, an old drinking buddy of Tanos the Paladin, was just touring the country with his exorbitantly large army to ensure everything was in order. Thank God the foresighted evil had provided for this contingency. The dungeon heart was charged with evilness and enough energy to act as a teleporter. For Talia, of course.
Ooh, good. Then all the best, brave warriors, and stop Stop them! Right! I'm out of here.
With a plop, Talia dissipated and disappeared to a faraway and safe place. The rest of the sacrificing evil's creatures looked astonished as their general fled, but only for a moment, as they already found themselves facing an unpleasant army of good.
This is the work of that damn pointy-eared wench. I always warned Thanos that those miserable dark elves couldn't be trusted. Criminals, the lot of them. But enough is enough. I'm going to find that shifty wench and use her ears as bookmarks.